The other big news is TriMet Lyft is voting to go on strike. TriMet Lyft is going to vote to see whether they should go on strike or not. And that is interesting. That's the most interesting story of all of us, is that TriMet Lyft might go on strike. And I'm curious, how can they go on strike if TriMet itself, if I can't go on strike, how can they go on strike? They're a transit, that's part of transit there. But they're not covered by the law that covers us. So a lot of us want to know, how is it that First Transit is able to exercise their right to strike, but we can't do that? What's the reasoning there? A lot of us are very curious, and it's very interesting indeed that they're getting ready to strike. I was also looking at the accident rate, and after a whole year of giving the class, it turns out the accident rate is exactly the same as at this time last year before the class was even thought up. So the accident rate is identical to the accident rate last year before anybody even thought of having a class. So I found that very fascinating, because their class is supposed to reduce accidents. It's supposed to have a measurable reduction. It has no reduction as of today, as of the last report that TriMet put out. And I think that's, well, we all knew that was just a fraud anyway. I mean, it might be nice to get the concepts and all that, but you're not going to drive by the textbook. You drive based on the way you drive. You can't learn this in a textbook. This is not a math class where you just sit down and learn a bunch of formulas and then you pass the test. Driving, is not that way. This is not the kind of job it is. Oh, here's your textbook. You can go read all about it, and then you'll be a good bus driver. No, it doesn't work that way. So, and I think that the statistics are starting to prove that out, that it's a bunch of baloney. That hasn't made any noticeable impact. Oh, also one other thing here, now that we've made it back to my home away from home for this time of the year, and it's so nice to just drive over here, because I can get here so easily compared to trying to get to the Murillo garage. I can actually get here in a reasonable amount of time and without a big, huge traffic jam. But trying to get to Murillo is such a huge ordeal. Ridership statistics have... Now, these patterns hold true. If you look at last year and this year, you'll see that bus ridership always goes up. And I guess that's the students in school. Now, if they get rid of those free high school passes, that should have a huge dent on bus ridership, I would think, because most of the people are taking buses. And that was even borne out in the statistics about commuting in general. Very few people take light rail and streetcars. It's all buses and subways. But the ridership statistics showed a decrease in MAX, which is surprising, actually. I mean, why would there be less MAX riders than last month? The MAX riders should stay pretty constant, I would think. It's very confusing as to why the MAX riders would be less. And the bus riders, you can understand, okay, school starts, people are taking the bus to school. Okay, so that would increase that. But why would people not be taking the MAX? That's a little surprising to me. I don't quite understand how that would be. Why would that be? People are still going to work on it. Or maybe tourists or something? I don't know.